Hi guys, it's Owen from farfaway.org. Just doing a battle report for Game 2 of myself and Phil's 4-game campaign. We're using the campaign rules from the recent Wyrd Chronicles issue number 5. And if you haven't checked them out, check them out. They're really, really good. So myself and Phil started the campaign on the playtest rules, and now they've obviously been officially released. So definitely check them out. I mean, Malifaux is a natural storytelling game, and this just adds another layer to that story. So in terms of this game, it's my guild on the left-hand side against Phil's Rezzers. I have a Lady Justice-led crew, and Phil has Nicodem. In terms of our strategies, Phil had Supply Wagon, so you can see the wagon in the top right there. And I had Treasure Hunt, so you can see the treasure in the middle. You can also see there are 3 objectives. These are artifacts, which are part of the campaign rules, and if a model ends the game in base contact, you basically get a slight advantage when it comes to bartering for items that you might want to buy. So I'll talk you through that a little bit at the end of the video here. In terms of schemes, Phil went for Holdout, and he also went for Extermination on the Beast. So the dogs, he reckoned were going to be key to my strategy. I'm trying to grab the treasure from the centre there. So the dogs will be in harm's way, and they're the 2 beasts that he's trying to kill. For me, I went for Holdout as well, and I went for Bodyguard. I'd really rather Lady J not die. But as you'll see, that didn't exactly pan out. So here are the deployments. We're fairly clearly spread. Obviously, I have a bit of a focus towards the centre because I want to get in there. So let's see how it panned out. So this is the end of turn 1. You can see the dogs went full tilt because they activated within 3 inches of each other. They companioned up, and they kind of could basically do 3 walks, which puts them 18 inches out. So there's 2 of them in base contact, and that was mostly to try and ensure that they couldn't get lured around too much. So I was trying to keep the high cards to keep the dogs in the game. Lady J moved up behind them because she can companion with them as well, because she's the master. So hopefully in the next turn that would pay dividends. Death Marshal that's moved forward there, I think he was lured out a wee bit by the Rotten Bell. The Ostringer was just moving forward to make sure he'd have a little bit more influence on the game. Nino was shuffling across mostly because where I had placed him originally, I was afraid I wasn't going to get good shots at the approaching models from the bottom right. So the 2 canine remains and the punk zombie. That punk zombie had received easy to wound from the last game, so essentially you wound him normally because the easy to wound and hard to wound cancel. Nino's casting ability was also limited from the last game, and you can see the Death Marshal at the bottom there that has 2 wounds on it. Again, that's a residual effect from game 1. So these are some of the nice things about the campaigns, is that you have this additional level of flavour. You also see Nicodem has 3 corpse tokens in the top right container there. 2 of those he started the game with. Again, it's an upgrade. And while it didn't come into play in this game, Lady J has a machete, which means she can ignore rough terrain penalties. So that's our severe terrain penalty, so that's quite nice. So as you can see, jockeying for position. Mortimer, essentially created a corpse token for Nicodem, and everything kind of shuffled forward, or in the undead case, shambled forward. So you see things have heated up. You'll notice the hounds are back up on the hill, so Lady J companioned up with them. She had to actually move forward from that position. So one of Phil's dogs had gotten into melee range with one of my hounds that was on the treasure counter in the centre of the board, and that hound had tried to attack, but I had kept a high card to cheat in just so he'd miss my dog. So Lady J basically walked forward, used her melee expert, smashed the canine remains that Phil had popped in place, and then she strolled back. Nice thing there is that several of my models benefit from inspiring swordplay, which is part of our manifest requirement, so I have the avatar purchased as part of this crew. Then the dogs legged it out there. Obviously the dog that has the treasure is slowed down, but thankfully the dogs are significant once they're within 3 inches of each other, so it was important for me that both the dogs survived for this part of the strategy to play out. Down the bottom you can see Phil's canine remain kind of moved quickly around that corner into melee with the Death Marshal, took a swing and missed, and then the Death Marshal was able to swing back for a couple of wounds. And the punk zombie moved forward and picked up a couple of shots from Nino, which strangely didn't kill him, but certainly did a bit of damage, so that wasn't so bad. You can see Phil's supply wagon has moved forward, and you can also see that Phil basically used every corpse token he could get his hands on to create all of this kind of wall of zombies. So the wall of zombies did disappear, but Phil kind of brought them back. So you can see my hounds. So this is turn 3. My hounds have bounded behind the hill there to relative safety. So this is kind of me hoping to hang on to the strategy. At the top, then the Death Marshal that was had the 2 wounds on him. There's a bit of a tussle between him and the Hound. He killed the Hound. The Punk Zombie charged in, or maybe walked in. Did a couple more wounds, and then my Death Marshal that was on the railway tracks charged into the Punk Zombie and killed him. Nino started trying to plink shots. I think he tried to shoot out some zombies to try and get a kind of a bead on the Rotten Bell. Lady J also took some shots, and I think ultimately this was a mistake. Nicodem's getting closer. He's got a ready supply of corpse tokens or zombies there, which means you can see at the top right, Phil has the model prepared. There's a flesh construct, essentially sitting on the wings and waiting for Nicodem to pull him into play. The Ostringer was lured forward there, but for no great effect. So turn. One thing to mention actually while we're on turn 3 is you see the Punk Zombie up the top. So this is Phil's model that's trying to prevent my holdout scheme. So I had to pay attention to him. So start with that Punk Zombie up the top. You can see this is on turn 4. He's moved forward. But you can see the real actions happening in the middle of the board there with a flesh construct right up in Lady J's face. 8 wounds on her, and she's down to 3 soul stones. So this is not looking too hot. So the mistake of having her stand and take a couple of shots with her gun definitely is starting to hurt here. I should have pulled her back. And I make another mistake into the next turn, but you'll see that too. So one thing that you can see then are the Death Marshals down the bottom are starting to move into position just to be able to plink shots up towards the centre of the board. But I don't really have a good play against the supply wagon. I mean, it's in melee range with a couple of things. I can only injure it in melee, so I don't have a good play there. The Ostringer pulled back a wee bit, and I think he took a shot at the Punk Zombie, but he missed. Nino managed to get a headshot on the Rotten Bell, and Phil had 3 cards left in his hand, but decided he needed them. And you'll see why the Flesh Construct ended up getting fast, because Phil used the Black Joker to overcome its slow. So that's how Lady J ended up with a fast Flesh Construct in her face, which wasn't fun. So because Phil needed to hold those cards, the headshot killed the Rotten Bell. So moving on to turn 4. Well, we see that the Flesh Construct is no more. They managed to plink another wound off Lady J, but she's out of soul stones at this stage, and obviously she's manifest. I think this was a mistake. I don't think I needed to manifest her. I think actually the additional action would have been more valuable. So, all told, I think a sword style to get kind of a plus on damage, even against the hard to win 2 Flesh Construct, I think would have paid dividends. It would have left her with an action that she could have swung at the supply wagon. So, all told, I don't think I made the right choice here. Things that worked out, though, is the Ostringer managed with 2 shots from the Raptor to take out the Punk Zombie up the top, which I think was better than odds. The other thing Lady J was able to do in her avatar form is Mortimer kind of charged into her and took a swing, but she had her reposition trigger, and she was able to push him back. And that put him right into the firing line of Nino and the 2 Death Marshals. And while he used his 6 feet under, he was killed by just all the individual shots. So moving into turn 6, which ended up being the last turn, the supply wagon obviously is clearly in place, and while my guys seemed to be close to it at this point, that was the end of it. I was trying to get them up there just in case it went to a 7th turn. The thing you'll notice is there's 3 corpse tokens sitting where Lady J was. Just Nicodem was able to just cast, it was a decay, but yeah, cast at her, and then that just got her. There was very little I could do to survive that. And this is the way the game ended. So in terms of strategies and schemes, I mean, Phil achieved his strategy in full, and he managed to hold out. He did not exterminate the beast, so he got 6. But I also got 6. I mean, I didn't achieve bodyguard, obviously. but I did manage to hold out, and so I was happy enough with that. In terms of the fallout from the game, well, I got a pretty severe injury on Lady Justice. She picked up easy to wound 1, so that's really going to hurt moving forward in the campaign. The punk zombie then that was killed up the top, who hadn't previously sustained an injury, he has to miss the next game, so that's a few points Phil won't have on the board. The punk zombie that was already injured, he now suffering -2 defense, so that guy's really pretty crippled. And the Rotten Belle is suffering a -2 or walk, and she also picked up shambling, but that didn't matter too much. In terms of we picked up a bit of guild script as part of that game. But there's a couple of things for us to consider buying. Phil's holding on to his guild script. He spent fairly heavily out of the first game. I have enough to pick up an exorcist to add to my crew, so I think I'll do that for the next game. Apparently exorcists are decent enough against the undead. So anyway, thanks for watching, and catch you all next time.